One of the main topics of discussion for the Minnesota Vikings is trying to figure out that quarterback position and what is going to ultimately happen. Again, we don't have any idea at this point in time what the Vikings are considering doing. They're obviously keeping their options open, talking to Kirk Cousins, kind of looking towards that NFL draft, who's the quarterback that we could potentially take or trade up for and stuff like that. But we really haven't talked about going out and grabbing somebody. And one person in particular that we talked about a little bit last offseason, even when Kirk Cousins went down, is the possibility of trading for Trey Lance, a Minnesota native kid who went to North Dakota State University, balled out, gets drafted number 3 overall from the San Francisco 49ers. Doesn't quite work out there. Again, Brock Purdy, okay, Mr. Irrelevant, comes in, takes that job, and now has led them to a Super Bowl in just his second year. So Trey Lance found himself into that Dallas Cowboys organization and really isn't going to see the field because Dak Prescott is a good quarterback. He likes to stay healthy, so Trey Lance really doesn't have much of an option there. But I think that's one quarterback that the Vikings could potentially look into. I've seen a couple other ones like Sam Darnold and stuff like that. So let's dive into this Trey Lance situation and the potential possibility of him joining the Minnesota Vikings. Before we do that, though, make sure to subscribe to the channel. So, as the NFL offseason looms large, the Minnesota Vikings find themselves at a crossroads regarding their quarterback situation. With Kirk Cousins likely set to hit free agency and the backups we saw last year not proving themselves as viable long-term options, the Vikings face a critical decision that could shape the trajectory of their franchise. One option that has gained some traction among fans and analysts alike is the possibility of pursuing a trade for quarterback Trey Lance. So, why should the Vikings consider making a move for Trey Lance? Let's delve into the reasons why the Minnesota Vikings could be a viable, or why he could be a viable option for our Minnesota Vikings. First and foremost, Trey Lance possesses immense talent and potential. Coming out of college, he was heralded for his strong arm, athleticism, and his ability to play or make plays both through the air and on the ground. While his time in San Francisco was limited, he showed flashes of potential and demonstrated that he has the tools to succeed at the NFL level. Furthermore, Lance fits the mold of the modern NFL quarterback, with the league increasingly valuing dual-threat quarterbacks who can extend plays with their legs and make throws on the run. Lance's skills set aligns perfectly with the direction in which the game is evolving. Now, his ability to threaten defenses both as a passer and a runner would add a dynamic element to the Vikings offense and keep opposing defenses off balance, which I think is something that not only myself, but I think some of you fans would like, is somebody that could utilize his feet to his ability and make plays on the run and in the pass game, which I think would make the offense a little bit more dynamic. Now, additionally, acquiring Trey Lance could provide the Vikings with a long-term situation at the quarterback position. All right, at just 23 years old, Lance is still developing as a player and can potentially be a franchise for another decade if he developed correctly. By trading for him right now, the Vikings could secure their quarterback of the future and build around him for the long haul. Now, of course, pursuing Trey Lance would not come without its own risks and challenges. While he possesses immense talent, he is still relatively inexperienced at the NFL level and is yet to fully prove himself as a starting quarterback. Additionally, the cost of acquiring him could be, but should not be a concern, as the Cowboys only shelled out a mere 4th-round pick for Trey Lance. Now, furthermore, there is no guarantee that Lance would be available or willing to be traded to the Vikings. Now, the Cowboys may see him as a valuable asset and be reluctant to part ways with him, especially for anything less than a significant return. In conclusion, the Vikings find themselves facing a pivotal decision regarding their quarterback situation. With Kirk Cousins more than likely hitting free agency and the backups from last season not presenting themselves as viable options, the Vikings must explore all avenues in their search for a solution. Now, while asking for Trey Lance presents its own set of risks and challenges, his talent, potential, and fit within the modern NFL make him an intriguing option for the Vikings. Now, only time will tell whether the front office ultimately pulls the trigger on a move for Lance or pursues other avenues in their quest for a franchise quarterback. Like, I've seen some rumors talking about Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, and basically just trading up in the draft and taking the guy that we think could be the future quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, as for the Trey Lance situation, I'd be okay with trading for him. Again, we shouldn't have to give up much. I think a fourth rounder, even a fifth round pick for Trey Lance is what I would give up the most. Just because he hasn't proved himself. He's bounced around to 2 teams now. The Cowboys only had to give up a 4th-round pick for him, and I think that's because San Francisco didn't want to keep him on their roster because they already had 2 quarterbacks and stuff like that. But he hasn't proven himself. Okay, he hasn't looked great when he does play. He looks kind of, panicky, if you will, more like he plays anxious. So I'd be okay with bringing him in the organization, but that also means that we have to find somebody else, which, drafting a quarterback or maybe finding a veteran outside the league that, Trey Lance could battle with to potentially take that starting role. I don't see Trey Lance as a franchise quarterback at this point in his career, but you never know. Things could change coming back to his hometown. This is just one option to kind of keep your eye on for the Minnesota Vikings to potentially pull the trigger on finding a situation or finding somebody to fix the situation at that quarterback position. Trey Lance could be one of those guys, Sam Darnold and all the other ones, but you guys let me know your thoughts about this, potentially bringing in Trey Lance down in that comment section below. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much, much appreciated. Have a great rest of the night, folks, and Skol Vikes.